So this week I'm going to speak about haunted locations, and today I want to speak about Hever Castle, taken from my book called Haunted Voices. I'll see you shortly. So welcome back. My name's I'm from UK Ghost Explorers. Today I want to speak about Hever Castle, taken from my book called Haunted Voices. So Hever Castle is in the middle of Kent, and it was built in 1492 by Geoffrey Bullen. In 1492 it was taken over by Thomas Boleyn. Yes, Thomas Boleyn, which was Anne Boleyn's father, and she was married to King Henry VIII. Yes, that tyrant. She was the second wife to Henry. So today I want to speak about the different effects and different things which people have experienced. I'm going to speak about which I've personally experienced when I was out there, when I attended the ghost walk with my two boys when I did the first walkthrough, and what I've also come across when I've been there a few times. First experience was, as I arrived, was the energy which first emitted off of the castle. It had the presence as you go in to actual property, and as you enter through the door and you go into the court area, you can definitely feel that you're not alone. And I don't mean other people that are visiting. You can definitely feel that there is other entities that dwell there. Through to Anne Boleyn's bedroom, you can walk in there and then you can sense, it was only a small room, it couldn't have been probably more than 10 foot in all directions, and it had this massive bed, obviously a massive bed, and in there it said that's where she spent most of her time. So you can see her Bible, which she obviously also made notes on, and you can also see her handwriting. And as you walk through, you get into the King's Chamber. But now, as we walk through the King's Chamber, we didn't really know, actually it's called the King's Chamber, it's called the King's Bedroom. But as we walked through, I was with my two boys at the time, we did not really realise that that room was actually the King's room. It just opened up into this massive room, and as we walked in, there was this man sitting on a bed. First it looked like a statue, because it was so prominent. As we walked in, we could see this guy just sitting there, and he was in period costume, so we kind of didn't think really nothing of it. As we walked in, we looked over again into the corner onto the bed, and it was gone. Yeah, so as we walked into the room, we could see onto the bed that he was gone. And then as we looked to the left, he was just standing there. Now, it looked really weird because we never heard the footsteps, or we never felt him approaching, even though we were looking to the right and we wasn't paying much attention to where this actual person was standing. But anyway, as he stood there, he just gazed at us, and he was probably about 5'6", 5'7", no, slightly taller, 5'7", yeah, 5'7", 5'8", so it's about my height. I'm 5'9". So anyway, he stood there and he had like a kind of clean shave, but it was kind of like stubble, and his hair was ginger and it was like straight down, like it was just straight. It wasn't like, it didn't have any curls or anything. But then we noticed his clothing, which was really interesting because his clothing was kind of like linen, but it looked really, really, really posh, but not old, and it was undone. So it was just kind of like this, but it was open, and you could see the kind of like the twirls where the linen would have been, like the ties. It was just down, and he just stood there, looked at us, and then he said to me, "Oh, they told me that you were coming." So I thought, like, well, nobody knows I'm coming. But when I said yeah, and he started speaking about obviously he wants to be able to go to the other side and that I could help him. So I said, well, I know nothing of this, and obviously it's not necessarily down to me, it's going to have to be down to spirit. So as we walked past, he said, oh, all right then, and then he turned around and he was gone. And then my son said to me, Dad, my legs are going all funny. And normally with my oldest son, he senses a spirit is when his legs start going a bit strange and a bit weird. So we thought nothing of it. We walked down into the other, walked in, we carried on what we were doing. went up to the gallery. It's called the Long Gallery. And as we went up to the Long Gallery, we could feel, well, I could hear, and it's going to sound really weird, but most people who probably been there have heard it. Two things. I could feel a presence of a horse, and I could feel a presence of, and I could hear hooves, like coming up the stairs. And it's really weird because the stairwell was really short and really tight. So me walking up the stairs with my two boys was a bit tight for us to walk up. Anyway, but I was aware of this, somebody coming up the stairwell. As we got to the top of the stairwell and we got onto the Long Gallery, I think there was a parade of obviously Henry and his wives there, which is a bit laborious. I mean, having all of his wives in Anne Boleyn's former home. Anyway, we stood there, and again, my son said, "Oh, his legs are going," a bit funny. And then I could hear galloping. This sounds really strange. And I could see just an outline of a horse and a knight in black clothing, black armor, and a horse is black as well. And it just sped past and then went down the other stairwell. Now, that couldn't, in reality, that couldn't have taken place if it was a proper horse, even if it was Hortney there, because the space was too narrow for any horse to climb. Speaking to a few people, they said that obviously it was made shorter, it was actually bigger. That's what I'm told. But either way, that's what I felt. And as we walked down the corridor and the Long Gallery, we can distinctly feel and hear like hissing and go away, go away, go away in night. And my son's going, "Can you hear that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then so we was looking around, couldn't see anyone. And then we could hear the doors kind of like slowly rattle. So this doorway you can go through. So we kept on going, and then this woman got shoved, like she just moved like out the way. It's almost like she got pushed. So as we kept on walking, we just pulled an ankle of it, and obviously I could sense and I kind of knew what it was. So then, long story short, did a bit of research into it because I was kind of going there for research purposes anyway, to see what I could pick up on. And we're going back to probably the 90s, no, to the like early 2000s it was. And what I found out was obviously that gallery, Long Gallery, was where a rider used to ride up on his horse. So what I found out after was that a horse and a rider would ride up the stairwell and ride along the gallery and go down the other side. Them days it wasn't a gallery. I believe it was some kind of lodging at that level. I don't know, that's what I'm told. And then about a month later, 2 months later, I remember talking to a friend of mine, and they were going like, at that time you had Most Haunted, who used to go to different locations. So I contacted them and I explained what happened, and they actually, a researcher called me and said, "Are you willing to come along and be a part of the show?" So you were like, of course, yeah, because in them days, Most Haunted, everybody, there wasn't many paranormal shows on which was actually mainline or mainstream. So I said, yeah, it would be really cool. They were going to send a car to pick me up at work, and I was going to go. And then through whatever reasons, it just didn't happen. So, but I explained the situation to the researcher, what I saw, what I felt. She goes, "That's really odd, because there are some of the things when we've done a walkthrough which are really highly intensive, and which we be researching." And I goes, "It would have been obviously been good to see it, so it just didn't happen." But the other aspects of what I've heard about the hauntings at Hever Castle was that Anne Boleyn haunts the gardens. So apparently sometimes you see a mist going through the gardens, and sometimes people have been up in a room and looked down and could see a woman in period costume. I think there was a story where one of the people who was working there came in early and was unlocking and looked out onto the gardens and could see someone dressed in clothing, period clothing, as a woman. And then the person looked, obviously actual person who was in the gardens looked up at the window, and she looked at them. She thought, "There's nobody on yet. It's like they're really early, so that's a bit strange." She thought down, and then she looked back down. She looked away. She was doing something. She looked back down again, and there was nobody there. So that was another peculiar thing as well that taken place in the gardens. And obviously the gardens are open for people to walk around, and there's something that happens around Christmas time. There seems to be, it becomes really active. I'm not sure why, but it just feels like Amberlin seems to appear there. Amberlin's apparently haunts there, and also London, Tower of London. So obviously that's where she was killed. And one of the other hauntings I know, there's been many hauntings, is a man in a bowler hat in the cellar. You know, interesting. Obviously, it might have been a potman back in the day. He haunts the cellar. Numerous of people apparently have seen him and felt him when he's there. But one thing I want to say about Hever Castle, though despite it was built in the 14th century, and it's about 700 years old now, and had about, I think it's like 13 owners. It's still, I believe it's still lived in now. Is when you're in the courtyard, as you go through the main gate across the moat, and you go across the moat into the main courtyard, you can definitely feel the presence of entities, without a doubt. Most people who probably don't believe in all that stuff say they feel a feeling there, and you could say it's down to the period, because at that time, obviously, it's by looking how it looks. Once you enter there, it's very of the time, so you could say your brain's playing tricks on you. But a lot of paranormal people and investigators and mediums who have gone there have turned and said that they feel really strongly as they enter into there, almost kind of like they're being watched. The other aspect as well is when you look up at Anne's room, you could see her appearing at the window. It seems to be probably all focused around her, because I believe, obviously, she's probably the only one who died tragically, hence why she probably go back to her place of birth, or where she was raised. And obviously, while Henry was courting her, he was still with Catherine of Aragon. So he used to go to Hever Castle, hence why he had the biggest room in the house. Well, he's king, isn't he? So, yeah, so I think in them days, she would have remembered the good times, what they shared together. We don't know instinctively what transpired, and obviously still, she probably loved him until she died, or until she was beheaded. But reality is like, I think that's why she goes back there, then probably haunts those specific parts, especially the gardens, which has been untouched since she's been there. So yeah, one thing we say, go and visit. It is a amazing place to visit, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon. And before I sign off, please do not forget to like, share and subscribe. It helps me to create more video content in order to get UK Ghost Explorers out there. I'm going to be doing a tour soon, so I'll be going around doing my second book, and this is obviously Haunted Voices 2, and Haunted Voices 1 is out already on Amazon, and I'll leave the inscriptions and a link below to Amazon. Okay, stay safe.